Why is everyone so obsessed with food? Have you noticed it? Besides politics or health issues, all people talk about all day long is food. And eventually, politics and health issues lead to food anyway. So really, all people talk about is food, period. It's all they think of. It's a crazed obsession. What I've noticed is that instead of food being a wonderful thing, which it is, it's often a very confusing and guilt-ridden thing instead. Just look around you. There's the vegans, the vegetarians, the carnivores, the ketos, the gluten-frees, the paleos, the raw foods, the all carbs, the no carbs, the no grains, the fruit only, and more. Then there are the taboo food groups. Certain things that cannot be eaten by certain people for various reasons. And within all of these groups are some people who want to force everyone outside of their group to eat like everyone who's inside their group. Yes, it has gotten to the point where food can be used as terrorism. Then there's the way people eat. Only eat early in the day. Eat twice a day and no more. Eat 3 square meals a day. Eat small meals every few hours. Eat 100 calories per hour. Eat only once a day and preferably early in the evening. Eat only in a 4-hour, 6-hour, 8-hour window. Don't mix foods. Eat only one kind of food per meal. Fast 1 day per week. Fast every other day. Fast 7 days at a time or more. Don't mix carbs and fat. Eat differently for your blood type. Eat an alkaline diet, etc., etc. Oh my God, it's enough to drive you insane. So I got thinking, is this a new phenomenon? And if not, how long has it been going on? I looked into it a bit. I found a book written in 1911 called The Fasting Cure by Upton Sinclair. I came across it after reading some comments on social media. Some people were talking about fasting and Upton Sinclair's book and how great it was. Well, I just had to know, so I got the book. What an eye-opener. Other than a few odd ways of phrasing things. If I didn't know that book was written over 100 years ago, I would have sworn it was written yesterday. It was all about the wonderful world of fasting and how it cures every disease. He was saying 113 years ago what some people are saying right now. And in his defense, if you do some research, you'll find that fasting has been highlighted in a number of amazing cures. Whether that's entirely true or not is difficult to ascertain. But it's certainly encouraging to learn about it. Here's the thing, though. We have been dealt so much confusion and propaganda about what constitutes a good diet, good medicine, and good medical advice that we're half crazed while looking for simple answers to our simple questions. The so-called experts are slowly driving us all insane. So it's nice to read anecdotal evidence written by ordinary people about their extraordinary health experiences. It gives us hope, which is something the medical profession should be doing but is not. In fact, for the most part, the medical profession gives us anything but hope. Upton Sinclair said, "I look about me in the world and nearly everybody I know is sick." But he wrote that in 1911, long before GMO foods were invented, long before commercial pesticides and herbicides were invented, and long before soils were vastly depleted, as we are told they are today. And yet, today we are told by many so-called experts that the reason nearly everybody is sick now is due in large part to GMO foods, pesticides, herbicides, and depleted crops from poor soil. But none of that existed in Sinclair's day, yet nearly everybody he knew was still sick. So, what's the deal? Why was everybody sick in 1911? Why are so many people sick today? Sinclair didn't have the benefit of looking into the future where we are right now, but we can look back into the past where he was and trace food and health advice through the years. And what would we discover if we did? Well, I've discovered that the more things change, the more they stay the same. It seems from time immemorial, people have been extolling the virtue of eating this food or that, the avoidance of certain foods on pain of death, and the miraculous cure for poor health, if only you follow their prescription and do what they say. Interestingly, if you trace back any health recommendation, you'll find that it just keeps going back further and further in time, even though the current writer of that recommendation acts as though he is giving the reader a new breakthrough in understanding. But really, it's all recycled advice. So, how long has this been going on? Well, it turns out it has been going on for thousands of years. Let's take, for example, the biblical book of Daniel, which was written in about 605 BC, a mere 2,600 or so years ago. Daniel has been taken as a captive by King Nebuchadnezzar to serve him in his court. The king insists that Daniel and the other captives be given a portion of his own rich food and wine to eat and drink every day. What's not to love about that, right? But Daniel did not want to defile himself with the rich food or wine. Defile. So he makes a deal with the chief of the eunuchs that for 10 days, now that's not a long time, for 10 days, he and his friends would be given only vegetables to eat and water to drink. And the rest of the captives, the other people who weren't his friends, would be given the rich food that the king ate. If Daniel and his friends didn't look better after the 10 days were up, then Daniel would have to eat the rich food. That was the deal. Well, when the 10 days were over, Daniel and his friends were, quote, better in appearance and fatter in flesh, unquote. Not meaning fat, but meaning looking healthier, from eating vegetables and drinking water as compared to the other captives who ate rich food and drank wine. Therefore, after that, all of the captives were given only vegetables to eat and water to drink. Now, this is clearly an ancient vegetarian story. And that's just one ancient text. The Charak Samhita, an ancient Ayurvedic text, was written about 400 BC. It goes into great detail about day-to-day grains, legumes, and vegetables to be consumed for best health and how to prepare them. We're talking about this whole treatise on how to prepare foods and what's best for people, written over 2,000 years ago. Now, tests that have been done on the hair of mummies from 3,500 to 6,000 BC, we're talking about almost 8,000 years ago, in Egypt, supposedly, showed a diet of mainly fruits and vegetables, and yet, oddly enough, the wall art of the ancient Egyptians, you just have to look for it, you'll find it, you can Google it anywhere. The wall art extensively shows a great deal of fish and fowl for food. Something doesn't sound right there, does it? Why would ancient Egyptians take the time to record meat and fish as a big part of their diet, and yet a lab test done in modern times on the hair of ancient mummies claims that Egyptians largely ate fruits and vegetables? And of course, the media picked up the story and ran with it, proclaiming that ancient Egyptians were mainly vegetarians. I suppose if you were an ancient person and you were going to write stories down on animal skin, as many ancient texts were written, or you were going to carve them into stone, you would probably try to make sure that every word and image counted. In other words, you wouldn't be talking just to hear yourself talk. There was a deep message from the writer of the book of Daniel, and it was not just about eating kosher foods and avoiding pork. It was about being a vegetarian and drinking no alcohol. No different from all the so-called advice we get today. YouTube is just loaded with it. I'll tell you one thing I know for sure, though. The fight between vegetarians and meat eaters has been going on a hell of a lot longer than most people can even begin to imagine. Thousands of years. Thousands. The book of Genesis was written about 1400 BC. So that's about 3,400 years ago. And already back then, there was a fight going on about it. Here are some of the confusing, contradictory statements it makes. Genesis 1:29. And God said, Behold, I have given you every plant yielding seed, which is upon the face of the earth, and every tree with seed in its fruit. You shall have them for food. Sounds vegetarian to me. Genesis 4:3-5. In the course of time, Cain brought to the Lord an offering of the fruit of the ground, and Abel brought of the firstlings of his flock and of their fat portions. And the Lord had regard for Abel and his offering, but for Cain and his offering he had no regard. Which means that God liked the animal sacrifices, but not the plant sacrifices, which sounds carnivore to me. Genesis 9:3. Every moving thing that lives shall be food for you, and as I gave you the green plants, I give you everything. That sounds omnivorous. And that's just 3 small passages in the Bible, one based on vegetarianism, one based on being a carnivore, and one based on being an omnivore who eats both. The entire book is loaded with arguments between vegetarians and meat eaters in both the Old Testament and the New Testament. And in India, to this day, there are still tons of people who remain strictly vegetarian, while others indulge wholeheartedly in meat eating. Egypt still has its cult-like vegetarian followers, supposedly beginning around 3000 BC, and these people believe reincarnation requires abstaining from meat, while at the same time, meat eating in Egypt today is by far the norm. Okay, so what does it all mean? First, it means that mankind has always been preoccupied with food, always. So all these diets and food fetishes that people have today are nothing new, even though advertisers like to act like it's the latest thing. It's been going on forever, no matter how much the latest trend tries to tell you it's all new. Second, it means that people get sick a lot, and sometimes it does have something to do with their diet, but just as often, there's no explanation. The problem is that people want an explanation, and they want it now. And who can blame them? When you're sick, you want answers, and the bottom line is, we all want to live forever. Third, there always seems to be someone out there who knows just what you should eat. They've got the secret. These days, they're often YouTube celebrity doctors who make a lot of money with their videos. Sometimes they make so much money from their videos and the products they endorse in those videos, and they also just happen to sell, that they quit their medical practice. Look, if a doctor quits his medical practice for something else, you can bet he's making some darn good money at that something else. Although I will say, there are a few decent YouTube doctors. So, what I want to say to you is this. People just want to be reasonably healthy. They want to live decent, fulfilling lives, which they can't do if they're constantly feeling ill. They search and they yearn for ways to introduce robust health, and often their search brings them to food and drink. And that's only natural, because what you put into your body is what ultimately ends up building your body or breaking it down, as the case may be. I don't have a secret regimen or cure for you, and I'm not a doctor, but I will tell you what I truly believe, and this is my opinion only. Eat simple foods from all food groups, simply prepared, simply eaten. Go very easy on the sugar. Enjoy your food immensely. Enjoy it. Food is supposed to be enjoyable. Never eat anything that disgusts you, but you think you have to eat it because it will magically give you health. Eat reasonable amounts, although you can have fun eating more of special holiday foods once in a great while. Treats are meant to be very occasional. Stay away from mind-altering substances, whether it's food or drink. Never waste food. Always express gratitude for what you have to eat, always. And above all, study your ancestry and heal yourself with the foods and the drinks that your ancestors ate and drank. What works for me, somebody who has far North European ancestry, is probably not going to work for somebody who has ancestry, say, from South America or something. Beware of the world wreckers who try to change history and lead you astray from the truth of your origins. Be very selective about what you read and who you trust, because we're all different. What works for one doesn't work for the other. Go on a quest to find your food, your health, your natural medicine, your people, and your place in this world. After doing your homework and making your decision, just live your life the best you can, being as kind as you can to others and to yourself, and enjoy your food, enjoy camaraderie with people that you eat your food with and the drink that you have. And if you ask me, that is the best recipe for success, if ever I heard one.